Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of Sideboard Files here on HEDRON.TV. Manuel here, your host as usual. And yes, we are back. It's taken a bit more time than expected, but we are back with a few more videos. Apologies for the delay. And this time I have here joining the show once again, Tobias Mieth. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. Today we are going to update our list from last time. We're
Grixis Death Shadow. Yeah,
again.
fantastic. That's exactly what we're going to do. So modern again, Grixis Death Shadow again. And you've been tuning and tweaking your list in preparation for the regional PTQ, sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite ahead. I mean, we're not too far away though. So it's time to get ready.
In 2 weeks' time from recording this.
From as of the recording on this video.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting fairly close. So I guess that in your testing, your testings brought you to do a few changes. So changes in the main deck as well?
Yeah, main deck and sideboard changes right now.
All right. So let's start with the main deck. Let's have a look at your list. What's going on there?
So the changes I had, I put out the spicy one-offs, the Claim Fame and the Lightning Bolt.
Okay.
Because Claim Fame was part of the grind package I had in my sideboard as well. The grind package in the sideboard is gone, which was the second Claim Fame and the 2 Jace Rinse Prodigy. And they are gone. These are the changes in the sideboard. We will talk about this later, but this is the reason why Claim Fame had to go in the main deck, because this was like part of a coherent game plan. This grind package was mostly for mid-range mirrors or against certain kind of control decks, but right now these kind of decks are at an all-time low in Modern, and so this package has to go.
So the meta has changed and you need to adapt.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go into details. What are the new additions? Please go on.
We forgot about the Lightning Bolt, because the reasoning behind the Lightning Bolt had to go was right now you have to be as fast as possible. You have to put a clock on your opponent as fast as possible in Modern. And Lightning Bolt has been more like a reactive card in my deck. And sometimes this is a liability when you have Lightning Bolt in your hand and you can't do like turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Cantrip, play a threat, go. This is what your play pattern has to look right now to really shine as your deck. And with Lightning Bolt, this doesn't do it right now. There would be some matchups where this would still be great, but not like, if you consider Modern, at the top of Modern there are 3 decks right now, which is Grixis Death Shadow, it's Eldrazi Tron and Storm, and against Storm and Eldrazi Tron, Lightning Bolt is not good. Even against Grixis Death Shadow, Lightning Bolt is not good. Can sometimes be a surprise, as a surprise kill by a Snapcaster when your opponent is on 6, but fancy stuff. Not something you want to do every game. And that's why Lightning Bolt had to go, unfortunately.
Okay, I have a question though, because you were mentioning Gift Storm, and against the Baral or Goblin Electromancer, Lightning Bolt could be actually a good tool.
Yes, that's true. It could be good, but we have different cards which fulfill the same purpose, and I think we have enough removal. We are pretty well suited for this matchup. This matchup is pretty good for us, so we can easily sacrifice the Lightning Bolt going away because we have Fatal Push, and the Lightning Bolt was actually substituted with a Terminate. Terminate is still fine against these. It's tempo even, so not as good as Lightning Bolt, but it still does its job.
All right, understood. So these were the cards that are gone.
Yeah.
What about the new additions?
Yeah, the new additions, as I mentioned already, is the second Terminate. This is normally pretty stock. I was sacrificing the second Terminate more or less for the Lightning Bolt, so just like a more tempo-ish removal, and to have more versatility in the deck, more one-offs, which I like sometimes, but right now you need Terminate, because creatures in Modern are big right now, and Lightning Bolt is not good against big creatures. So Terminate, destroys a creature, job done, fine.
The right removal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the second new addition for the Claim Fame, there came in Liliana of the Veil. Sometimes a bit strange, because we are playing with counterspells and Snapcaster, and counterspells and Snapcaster aren't too good with Liliana, but still Liliana is such a powerful card and attacks especially those big decks or combo decks on a angle they don't suspect right now. Liliana has fallen out of favor because all the the Junt and Absan decks are gone, and or not really gone. They're like relegated to the second leagues right now.
Right, not as present as they were before.
Because the premier mid-range decks are the Death Shadow decks, and sometimes they play a Liliana, but not as often, and definitely not as a 4-off. And Liliana can be pretty strong sometimes. This is why she even made another entry in the sideboard, because for some matchups, Liliana is so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else we should add?
Oh, that's about it, I would say.
All right. Excellent. So we can just go straight away to the sideboard. Right. So 1 Kneel Spellbomb, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Surgical Extraction, 1 Liliana of the Veil, as mentioned before.
Yeah.
1 Liliana of the Last Hope, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, and 2 Stubborn Denial. So a good part of the cards that I saw in your last sideboard are still present here.
Yeah.
But there are a few changes.
Yes. I removed the Grand Package, which I mentioned before. The 1 Claim Fame is gone, and the 2 Jace Vryn's Prodigy is gone. The Claim Fame miraculously became Liliana of the Veil. Because
let's talk about Liliana.
Yeah, Liliana, our deck is mainly a deck based on big creatures and spells to disrupt your opponent, either by killing the creatures, attacking their hand, or countering spells. Liliana doubles up on the discard plan, is not too good with countering stuff sometimes, but she's especially good to attack from another angle, because normally our way to win a match is with creatures and attacking the opponent. Liliana can help in strange matchups, for example, Lantern Control, where they have a bridge down. Sometimes ticking up Liliana and ulting her 2 times in a row can win you the game, or stuff like that. Against all the big mana decks, she's pretty amazing, because they normally need to assemble a lot of lands to get their creatures or their big stuff combo, whatever they want to do, like Scapeshift. And this can stop them from making the land drops and still having business spells in hand. And or against combo decks like Storm, she is especially good, because to Storm and combo off, you need mana, you need cards in hand to generate those mana at this mana, and she can stop them from assembling cards together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so every time they draw a card, they have to discard a card then in your turn.
Yeah.
So the +1 ability gets the job done, let's say. Okay.
She's in many matchups mostly about the +1 ability, and in some matchups she's more about the minus ability. For example, Eldrazi Tron, the plus is already amazing if you have a board presence. If you don't have a board presence, the minus can be quite good at times as well.
Sure.
As a 3 mana edict, definitely fine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So what should we go after that?
The 2 Disdainful Strokes are new as well.
Okay.
That were the 2 Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and I said to myself, okay, we had a 2 mana blue spell, so we need another 2 mana blue spell in the sideboard.
was that like a requirement to be in your sideboard?
No, not exactly.
Okay, of course you were joking.
This is more about the big mana decks, because sometimes, especially against Scapeshift, you have the problem, you're discarding their hand, you have Stubborn Denial in hand, and you have all bases covered, almost, but then there comes Primeval Titan. You can't do anything about it. He comes down, and he gets 2 lands. Sometimes you can terminate him, but still the damage is already done. And this can stop stuff like this, and this is even good against Eldrazi Tron. So you have like a tier 1, definitely tier 1 deck with Eldrazi Tron, and Scapeshift decks are pretty good as targets, and there are other decks where you would like to bring this in, where they play with big mana spells, but it's mainly for Eldrazi Tron and for Scapeshift decks.
Yeah, because they're definitely on the radar, and you can expect them, especially in big events.
Oh yes.
So you have to be prepared.
Definitely. So Disdainful Stroke against Eldrazi Tron is good from anything like a Thought-Knot Seer up to a Reality Smasher, Endbringer, Karn, all this dust. There's so much you can hit. You have to be wary, because sometimes they play Cavern of Souls in their list, but that's stuff you have to deal with.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So The new entry, Liliana of the Veil, one in the main deck, one in the sideboard, but still Liliana, the last hope in the sideboard as well.
Exactly.
So maybe we can talk about this one a bit. This hasn't changed. Or did you have it in the main deck before?
No, I had it in the sideboard before.
Yeah, I had it in the sideboard before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's, in my opinion, she's not good main deck because there are some matchups where she's absolutely atrocious, where she doesn't do anything. I mean, Planeswalkers are always bad when your opponent is on creatures. And when they are on big creatures, which don't die to Liliana's plus ability, it's like, okay, I spend 3 mana, play something, and you attack it, and it's gone. Well, not a good investment. That's why I have it in the sideboard. She can fulfill 2 purposes. Sometimes she's a killer when she bullies small creatures.
Sure.
And
-1, -2, -1. Yeah, counter. Yeah.
And sometimes she's more like a grindy card where you can, you plus her sometimes. Maybe you threaten to ulti her if you go for straight plus. If your opponent can pressure her with creatures, or you can like do a pattern of plus, minus again, and then you have Liliana on -1, and you have 2 extra cards in hand because you get 2 extra creatures from the graveyard. And especially with Snapcaster Mage, the combo is pretty cool. Filling up your graveyard with the minus, and then getting a Snapcaster, and you have a stock graveyard.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned this, and also what you said before about the interaction between Snapcaster Mage, counter spells, and Liliana of the Veil. So my question is, you have one Liliana of the Veil main deck now. Are there any matchups in which you would side out Liliana of the Veil and actually board in Liliana the Last Hope to somehow exploit this different kind of synergy, or it's not really the case?
Yeah, definitely. For example, Affinity could be a matchup where you could bring in Liliana the Last Hope because she can eat like Mem Knights and stuff like this. But Liliana of the Veil is pretty terrible against Affinity because the plus doesn't accomplish anything because Affinity just empties their hand and well, the plus only hits you, and so it's just like one-sided but bad for you.
So
and the Edict is also bad because they can just like sack a Mem Knight to it, and then the Liliana gets attacked by another creature and is gone, and it's like an irrelevant creature is gone for nothing. With this Liliana, it's a bit different because you plus it, she goes up to 4, and then they have to invest mostly like 2 creatures to attack her to death, and so it's like kill a creature and have like a slight fork, which is okay. It's not like something you definitely want, but for elves, for example, is a deck where you would want Liliana of the Last Hope because it can gobble up a lot of creatures, but the other Liliana is atrocious because the Edict effect is bad, and they tend to play out their hand pretty quickly as well with all the mana accelerants.
Okay. This is more or less what I wanted to know, especially. Yeah, you said it yourself. I mean, if there is like a matchup against a deck that has plenty of creatures, the Edict effect just will kill the worst of their creatures because they will choose it themselves. Doesn't do much. So so the 2 Liliana can somehow one replace the other when needed.
Yeah. Well, what's pretty funny with the new Planeswalker Legendary rule, you can have both out, which happened to me already a few times, and this feels amazing. To have 2 Lilianas on the board.
That's also cool. Now you can have it, actually.
Yeah.
This is because of the new legendary rule.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, absolutely. Why not benefit from both cards in the right matchups? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so the rest, I think it's more or less, I mean, it's the same. No changes, and the role of these cards is still the same. Definitely. So I think we can just go straight away for the matchups then that we have for this episode.
For sure.
So let's start with 5-color humans.
This deck is trying to, if you don't know the deck, it's trying to quickly play out the hand while disrupting their opponent with hate bears, so to call. So it's a classical hate bear style deck. Has a few funky additions in Mantis Rider, for example, or Meddling Mage, which is spiking right now. Has even a new addition from Ixalan in Kitesail Freebooter, which is like more or less a Duress on a stick And yeah, that's about it. You take a non-creature, non-land card, and it stays there as long as Kitesail Freebooter stays in play, and this is pretty amazing, especially if they have like a hand with a vial as their start, so turn 1 vial, they can play out their hand on like turn 3 or 4, which is pretty fast.
Yeah, very true. So when you face this deck, what are your objectives in game 2?
My objectives, it's the same as in game 1.
Okay.
I can tell you, it's you are the control deck of this matchup. So you want to keep the board empty and then win eventually, because your creatures are bigger than their creatures. Normally, if Champion of the Parish gets out of hand, they can become really, really big. But Champion of the Parish just still dies to Fatal Push, so you can still handle it if it's big. But normally your creatures are bigger, and you win eventually if you just control the board. So you want to kill almost everything on side. Okay.
So assuming the control role, keeping the board empty, and win with your bigger threats.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the plan.
Very good. So sideboard plans in detail. On the play and on the draw, do we have the same sideboard plans?
This is absolutely the same, because you can't really gain any tempo in this matchup, because this is a matchup where you want to stop the bleeding. They are the aggressor, you want to stop them, and that's about it.
Okay, very good. So what do you side out and what do you side in?
So you side out the 2 Stubborn Denials, because counter spells are only good for Ether Vial, for example, but if you're on the draw, you can't even counter the Ether Vial. And then in the end, what you want to do is not to stop the Ether Vial, you want to kill all the creatures, and countering an Ether Vial won't kill the creatures, because they will just come out later. And you just need the creatures to be dead, and countering Ether Vial doesn't accomplish that. And furthermore, you get rid of the 4 Thought Seizes, as they tend out to spit out the hand pretty quickly. Discard effects are not so strong. You keep in the Inquisitions because they don't hurt your life total. Your life total, you want to preserve it in this matchup. You don't want to rush out like an Death Shadow and then let it die to Path to Exile. This would be another card which would be worth countering, but I found out that sucking up the Path of Exile is sometimes better. Just, let them have their counter spell. I need to focus on killing all their creatures, and then I'm fine.
Okay. So that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So what do you side in?
For boarding in, obviously the 2 Anger of the Gods, because sweepers against decks that go wide, they don't tend to go really wide. They're like a medium wide deck, so it's still, every piece of going wide has a meaning or is meaningful. So it's not like a sweeper is exceptional, but a sweeper is good in this matchup. And then 1 Liliana of the Veil. Normally, you would say against going wide decks, this is bad, because an Edict, they just sack a meaningless creature to it. But in this matchup, like, the worst you can hit is like a Noble Hierarch, which is still okay, I would say. And sometimes you can hit like a Meddling Mage, a Kitesail Freebooter, which has another card under it, or stuff like that. So she's not perfect, but she is still, if you put her down, kill a creature, you have 1 creature gone. It costs you 3 mana, which is expensive, but you want to get rid of every creature, and she does that. She mostly dies in the backswing, but that's okay.
Yeah, because they don't only go on quantity, but also quality. So everything they play has value and generates value in the sense that they're stopping you, they're annoying, or every creature is there for a reason. So whatever you get rid of is still good riddance.
And don't, in some cases you consider the plus, but she's mostly in this matchup a 3 mana Edict, and she almost always dies on the backswing. They even play Mantis Rider, and a Mantis Rider with Mayor of Avonbrook, if you plus her to 4, kills her immediately on side, because it's 4 damage in the air, and you can't do anything about it. So
but still worth having it.
3 mana Edict, totally fine.
Still fine. All right, okay.
Yeah, then 2 Collective Brutalities, because Collective Brutality can kill creatures. We want to kill creatures. Collective Brutality does that. Sometimes you use the life gain in this matchup because you don't want to die or you want to finish them off. The duress mode, don't use it. I mean, you could snack like a Path to Exile you know about from a Inquisition you played earlier sometimes. Then it might be okay. But normally just kill a creature for 2 mana, fine.
Okay. So yeah, that's the main mode you want to use. And if
Yeah.
you want to gain some life because you can for some reason, you can gain those 2 life points, but nothing more than that.
It gets a bit problematic sometimes with Mayor of Evenbrook out because he grows all the creatures, but he can be hit by a brutality itself, so still fine.
True. Okay.
And the last card we bring in is Liliana of the Last Hope. There are a lot of creatures with 1 toughness in this matchup, and if you can hit like a Talia, if you can hit a Noble Hierarch, this feels fine. Sometimes you can get her out earlier before they even play a Talia, and then they have a problem in playing out a Talia, or they have to vial her in on end step, so it still accomplishes something.
Sure. This is sort of like control card, so fits perfectly the strategy that you want to go for in this matchup.
Yeah. But this is like the weakest card in boarding. Sometimes you could consider, like on the draw, not boarding this in because then it's highly likely that they already have a Talia out. And if you can preemptively play Liliana of the Last Hope, then it gets much harder for them to play 1 toughness creature.
Sure. So you can debate if actually boarding this card in, but this is what you usually do, unless you see something
I usually
particularly
do this,
special in game 1.
But I can understand if you don't want to do this especially on the draw, because on the draw it gets much worse. But still, you want to kill creatures. This kills creatures, and even does it repetitively if you're lucky. And this is a way to win the game in the end.
Okay, and this is one of those matchups in which you would be happy to have both Lilianas on the battlefield.
Yeah. For example.
Yeah, sure. Okay, very good. So I think we said it all for this matchup. We can just go for the next matchup. We're talking about Eldrazi Tron.
Yeah.
Now, Eldrazi Tron, we all know what it does. I think it's now one of the tier 1, one of the most popular decks in Modern.
It's one of the 3 strongest decks in Modern, and it will stay there for quite some time.
Okay, so what are your objectives in game 2 when you face Eldrazi Tron?
You are the aggressor in this matchup because their spells are more powerful than yours. Reality Smasher is still something you can handle with your creatures because they can outgrow it. This is still on the level of okay, but if they start to drop Endbringer, Khan, All is Dust, this is too much for you. You can't handle this, so you want to finish the game before they can even play these cards.
Okay, sure. So you have to be fast here.
Yeah.
You want to be as fast as possible somehow.
You shouldn't dilute your own game plan and focus on disrupting them while you're pressuring their life total.
Okay. Makes perfect sense. So Sideboard plans, any difference on the play and on the draw?
Yeah, there's a difference. What would you like to start with, the play or the draw?
I would like to start with the draw. I'm used to it, so yeah. Okay. What do you side out and what do you side in on the draw?
So on the draw, you side out 2 Fatal Push, 2 Inquisition of Kozilek, and normally it's in between different cantrips. I would advise you to board out a Serum Visions because we said don't dilute your own game plan and be quick. Serum Vision sets up your turns 2 and 3 and so on, but if you Thought Scour yourself, you have the possibility to play a turn 2 Delve creature, and you want to be quick. You need to present a clock as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And Thought Scour does this. Serum Visions, not so much.
Okay, fair enough. Totally understood.
And what I bought in for this are the 2 Ceremonious Rejections, because counter colorless spells in a matchup where they only have colorless spells except for Dismember. Amazing.
Yeah.
I can counter everything you have for 1 mana. Joker.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
And Disdainful Stroke is the other counter spell I would like to bring in, because countering everything from a Thought Not Seer upwards is also amazing in this matchup.
Yeah, these are, I mean, in this particular matchup, these are hard counters.
Yeah.
Yeah. unconditional because you just meet the requirement, colorless creatures and big mana cost?
Disdainful Stroke is not unconditional because the Disdainful Stroke can't counter a Chalice of the Void, for example.
That's true. You're right.
Or can't counter an Expedition map, but it can deal with the business spells they can put out after this. And it even gets through Chalice if they have a resolved Chalice. Ceremonious Rejection, because normally they put a Chalice on 1 against you because your deck consists mainly of 1 mana spells. Or Impression of 1 mana spells with the Delve creatures. They are luckily safe against Chalice on 1, but Disdainful Stroke is still playable under Chalice on 1, and you can counter something. This is another plus of this card.
Mm-hmm.
And the other card I bring in is the Liliana of the Veil. Edict against big creatures. Simply amazing.
Always good.
Or if they want to assemble Tron and still have payoff cards in their hand, this card also good. Because you can sometimes even put her down before they have a creature. So you can even use the plus easily in this matchup. So definitely fine, definitely reasonable.
Fantastic. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Okay, so what about the other scenario? You're on the draw, but you are on the play.
Yeah.
What happens there?
On the play, instead of the Inquisitions, I bought out the Stubborn Denials because the reason here is we are afraid of Chalice of the Void in this matchup. Stubborn Denial can deal with an early Chalice, but if we are on the play, we can Inquisition beforehand, so Inquisition stays in for this, and we can sometimes even deploy like 1 or 2 Death Shadows before they even play their Chalice on 1. So on the play, you have a bit more time. And what I bought out as well, besides the Stubborn Denials on the play, is 2 Fatal Pushes. Fatal Push is still not really good in this matchup. I mean, you can only kill the Thought-Knot Seer. You need Revolt for it, so you have to have a fetch land in play, most likely, to trigger Revolt. Or you can hit, I forgot the name, the 3 mana, which replaces itself by showing the top of your deck.
Matter Reshaper.
Thank you. Me and card names sometimes.
It's hard. So many million cards.
Yeah, that's the.
It's hard to remember them all.
That's the other card you can hit, or you can hit a Germ token if they play a Better Skull. But this is not stuff you want to do. I mean, against Thought-Knot Seer, it's fine already, but you still have to have like a fetch land in play, so it's pretty tough because you need an unfetched fetch land. They play the creature, then you have to push it, fetch, and this is really a lot that has to come together. So
too complicated. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say too complicated. It's pretty tough that it actually happens because there are too many prerequisites for it to be successful.
Okay, quite unlikely.
I still keep in 2 copies because you want in the end to kill also the Matter Reshapers and the Thought-Knot Seers sometimes, but boarding out 2 is fine.
Yeah, but the Matter Reshaper is something that you don't necessarily want to kill because they could get some value out of it and maybe sometimes have a worse card.
Sometimes killing Matter Reshaper wins you the game because you need to finish your opponent off quickly, and sometimes this is like the jump blocker that is like the last creature that stands before them, assembling Tron and then playing an All-Is Dust to handle your board. So sometimes you want to kill it, but you're right. Mostly it's like a jump blocker and just gives them a turn, and you just hope that the turn they get extra is not good enough because But
I also understand your point. If you want to be as fast as you can, you want to close the game really quick. Then you want to also get rid of any jump blocker and just go in and try to finish this as soon as possible.
Then again, you could board out 1 Zero Visions. I would always advise to board out a Zero Vision. Sometimes if you don't feel like Fatal Push is accomplishing much, because your opponent might be boarding out Thought-Knot Seers or whatever, happens sometimes. It's a bit weird, but you never know what your opponent does. So sometimes it's okay to board out like another Fatal Push. You should always react and apply what you see to your boarding plan.
Sure, no, I totally understand. I mean, you give your recommendations,
Exactly. And sometimes you have to take into consideration, okay, how good is my opponent? What did my opponent do in game 2? Do I need to change my boarding, therefore, in game 3? So like take out another Fatal Push, take in maybe a Stubborn Denial, because they brought in like this non-creature spell I didn't expect, which is pretty good against me, and I want to Stubborn Denial this definitely. And
Sure. Many variables.
Always make up your mind about sideboarding.
Yeah. It's good to have a plan, because then you can decide to strictly adhere to it or just take like a sort of departure from it when necessary. So it's good to have a plan. It's good to have a solid plan. But you are absolutely right. This is why sideboarding is actually so tricky. It's such a fine art.
The good thing about a sideboard plan is, in my opinion, that you think about boarding before you go into the event. So you're not totally surprised and sit there like, I have to go through my deck and think about it.
Sure.
So it saves you a lot of mental energy and time.
Yes.
That's
key.
That's definitely key.
Really important. Okay, so what about the cards you side in? They're still the same, I believe.
They're still the same.
Okay.
So Ceremonious Rejection is still good. Disdainful Stroke is still good, and Liliana is still good.
The role of the cards is exactly the same.
These cards are so exceptionally good in this matchup that you always want them.
Okay, excellent. So I think we reached the conclusion here. So we said all we had to say. We covered everything we wanted to talk about. Very, very good. So thank you very, very much, Toby, for being back here.
No problem.
And
it's always a pleasure.
Pleasure for me as well, absolutely. You are coming back. We will just keep on following you in your progressions, in your testing thing. And we will have a chance to make another video, maybe before, maybe after the regional PTQ again. I try always to bring you back to the PPTQ, but no, regional PTQ. Come on.
We just have to see. I mean, I think I'm pretty close to the final deck for the RPTQ, and as a preparation for myself, we could definitely do like a big sideboard guide for this deck.
That would be great,
because I'm really into this deck right now, and I love it, and I want to change what I know about the deck already with our viewers.
We are going to do it. Maybe before, maybe after. That we'll see, but we are going to do it. All right. So thank you very much once again. And a big thank you to all of you who've been watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, because we surely did making it. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, twitter.com/HEDRON.TV, facebook.com/HEDRON.TV, pretty easy. And you also find the links in the description below. Just click on show more and you will get all the information you need. Last but not least, stay tuned on HEDRON.TV for more content to come. And for now, it's goodbye.
Goodbye. See you next time.